Welcome back to Monsters, Legends, and Conspiracies, the podcast where we venture into the unexplained, the terrifying, and the downright bizarre. I'm Sarah, and today we're turning our gaze to a creature that's been the subject of intense fascination and fear for decades, the Chupacabra. While this blood-sucking, goat-attacking creature first emerged in Puerto Rico, its legend quickly made its way across the Americas, and Texas has its own share of strange sightings and terrifying encounters. So settle in as we explore the mystery of the Chupacabra and what really might be lurking in the Lone Star State. Before we dive deep into Texas sightings, let's start with a little background. The name Chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker in Spanish, combining chupar, to suck, and cabra, goat. It's a fitting name, considering that the creature is famous for attacking livestock and, specifically, for leaving goats drained of blood. The first reports of the Chupacabra surfaced in Puerto Rico in the 1990s. It was a strange, small, hairless creature, often described as having spikes or quills along its back, a vampire-like appearance, and, most disturbingly, a habit of draining the blood from livestock without a drop spilled on the ground. Some claim it's an alien creature, others a mutated animal, or even a government experiment gone wrong. But by the early 2000s, Chupacabra sightings began spreading across the southern United States, and Texas quickly became one of those hotspots. So, what makes Texas such fertile ground for these kinds of legends? Let's find out. Legends don't usually stay put, and it wasn't long before the Chupacabra was spotted beyond Puerto Rico. By the late 90s, stories were cropping up in places like Mexico, Florida, and, of course, Texas. Texas ranchers and farmers were the first to report their encounters with a strange, hairless creature that attacked their livestock, leaving them drained of blood. Some of the earliest Texas sightings came from the rural areas bordering Mexico, particularly in South Texas, where there are vast stretches of isolated land, perfect for a creature to roam undisturbed. The Chupacabra sightings in Texas soon took on a life of their own, and they came with a slightly different description than the Puerto Rican version. In Texas, the creature was often described as dog-like or coyote-like, but with a twist. Witnesses claimed it had strange hairless skin, elongated limbs, and piercing, almost human-like eyes. And like the original Puerto Rican Chupacabra, it left animals dead, with their blood mysteriously drained. Now, this isn't the first time Texas had its fair share of strange cryptid sightings. Bigfoot is known to make an occasional appearance, and there have been reports of phantom cats, wolves, and even unidentified flying creatures. But the Chupacabra legend took off in Texas like wildfire, partly because of how terrifying and gruesome the attack seemed. One of the most famous Texas Chupacabra sightings happened in Elmendorf, a small town south of San Antonio. It was 2004 when a local rancher named Devin McCannley stumbled upon a strange, sickly creature roaming his property. Devin had seen plenty of coyotes, dogs, and foxes over the years. But this was different. The creature had gray, almost blue skin, sharp teeth, and a disturbing lack of hair. McCannley shot the creature and, naturally, took it to the authorities to figure out what exactly he had killed. But no one could provide a clear answer. The local vet suggested it might be a coyote with mange, a parasitic skin condition that could cause hair loss and make the animal look skeletal. However, many dismissed this explanation because the animal's body was just off. Its limbs seemed longer and thinner, and its face was more pronounced than that of a typical coyote. The mystery only grew when other local farmers began finding their goats and chickens dead, with strange bite marks and a suspicious lack of blood in their bodies. It seemed like every few days there was another report of livestock being killed in bizarre ways. What makes this particular sighting so significant is that it set the stage for what would become a wave of Texas Chupacabra sightings, many of which would be well documented and reported on by local news. Soon enough, the legend of the Chupacabra was alive and well in Texas, and ranchers across the state were keeping a close eye on their livestock. Whenever a legend like this gains traction, science is never far behind, ready to investigate and, ideally, offer some rational explanations. After McAnally's sighting, biologists began examining Chupacabra sightings more closely. Many experts suggested that most Texas Chupacabra sightings were actually encounters with coyotes or wild dogs suffering from severe mange. Mange, caused by mites, makes an animal's skin look rough, leathery, and even blue or gray in some cases. It also causes extreme hair loss, which could explain why witnesses describe the creature as hairless. For instance, in 2007, a woman in Cuero, Texas, named Phyllis Canyon, found a strange creature dead near her ranch. She took it to a biologist who examined it and determined it was likely a coyote with mange. However, Canyon was convinced that this creature was different. It didn't look or act like any coyote she'd ever seen. DNA tests conducted on several alleged Chupacabra bodies have usually pointed to canines with mange, and no DNA samples have ever matched anything unknown to science. Yet, many locals, ranchers, and Chupacabra enthusiasts remain unconvinced. The Chupacabra, they argue, isn't just a dog with mange. It's something else. Something much darker and far more sinister. Texas remains a hub for Chupacabra sightings, and every year, more strange creatures are found that people insist are no ordinary animals. In recent years, people have claimed to capture photos and even videos of Chupacabra-like creatures near their homes, particularly in remote and rural areas. In 2019, a man in Houston claimed he saw a creature skulking near his property late at night. When he turned on the flashlight, he saw what he described as a hairless, dog-like creature with glowing eyes staring back at him. The story went viral, sparking debates about whether the Chupacabra was making its return or if it was simply another case of mistaken identity. Interestingly, the Chupacabra has had a major impact on Texas culture, blending into the local folklore and even inspiring artwork, music, and movies. From statues to murals to themed parties, the Chupacabra has become something of a Texas icon, symbolizing mystery and fear, but also the spirit of curiosity. The Chupacabra has also become a staple of the Mexican and Tejano storytelling tradition, finding its way into local folktales and family lore. Many parents tell stories of the Chupacabra to children as a way to remind them to be cautious around strangers or to keep them from wandering too far from home. So what do we make of this Chupacabra phenomenon in Texas? Skeptics argue that every Chupacabra discovery has a logical explanation. Coyotes with mange, mutated dogs, or simply overactive imagination seem to be the most commonly cited causes for these sightings. Believers, however, argue that science doesn't have all the answers. They say that just because we haven't found concrete evidence doesn't mean there isn't something strange and unknown out there. Many claim to have seen the creature themselves, or to have witnessed livestock deaths that defy explanation. But whether you're a believer or a skeptic, there's no denying that the legend of the Chupacabra has a unique power. It's a creature that taps into our fear of the unknown, of things that lurk in the shadows. It's a modern-day vampire myth that keeps us wondering what might be hiding just beyond the edge of our lights. And perhaps, at the end of the day, that's what makes the Chupacabra legend so fascinating. It's not just a scary story. It's a reminder of the strange, unexplained mysteries that still linger on the edges of our world. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the legend of the Chupacabra here on Monsters, Legends, and Conspiracies. Texas may not be the creature's original home, but it's become a part of the fabric of our folklore. If you ever find yourself driving through a lonely stretch of Texas highway at night, keep an eye out. You never know what strange creature might be hiding just beyond the shadows. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the monsters aren't as far away as you think.